So I go to see if the listing has any reviews, and it doesn't. And that is really the second red flag, but that's the first red flag for me. And this was when the joke of sex trafficking started to come up. I blacked out and I bought a background check on him, whatever. Whoever was paying for that apartment was not the same name as my Airbnb host. Welcome back to my channel. It is your girl Simone Nicole, back at it again with another video. I thank you all so much for joining me today. So today's video, I definitely am in like a way more relaxed setting than I usually am. I just want to talk and I just want to be really honest about my experience in Atlanta. For anybody that has just stumbled across this video or anybody that has not been following me, I will be moving to Atlanta at this point in probably about 60 days, which is pretty exciting. But while I was there this last time, I got an Airbnb and the experience was really, I don't know how to describe it. I guess I'll just talk about it and then sort through my feelings a little more, because I got back from Atlanta 2, maybe 3 weeks ago. It's been a while since I've been back and I have had time to sit with all of this, and I do feel strongly that I don't think that my instincts were wrong. But then part of me is like, but was I overreacting though? Because if you don't know, I'm a Pisces gang. I talk myself into crazy. I will talk myself into crazy like no one's freaking business. But also something about Pisces and about me specifically, I have crazy intuition. This experience really showed me that I need to follow my intuition. So I'm gonna get into this video. I'm not really sure what I'm gonna title it because there is a big looming term that I want to use in this video, but I don't want to make it clickbaity. It's just how I feel. So let's just start from the beginning. I was planning on going to Atlanta, but I hadn't booked the Airbnb yet. So I was looking into hotels and I was looking into Airbnbs, HomeAways, whatever, to try to find accommodations. And I was trying to stay within a certain budget. So then I get on Airbnb and I put in all of my specifications for what I wanted, and it spits out about a handful of listings, not a lot, because my budget was really low but my expectations were really high. So it gives me this listing for an Airbnb and it's really nice. It's in a really good location. I'm gonna speak very vaguely about what location it's in because I don't want people to like go find this person and harass them, even though they might very well deserve it. I don't know that for sure. This is not based off facts. This is completely based off of intuition. And because of that, I'm not gonna put this person on blast. I find this nice listing. The pictures did look a little like straight out of an IKEA catalog. Like it looked very, very well decorated. And I just saw stars and was like, you know what, this is perfect. It was only like $200, like a little over $200 for 4 nights in a really nice part of town. And that should have been red flag number 1. Okay, so this is the first red flag that I have now ignored about this situation. I go through, I book it, and he doesn't have to respond. He doesn't have to approve it for me to be able to book it. So I book it, and I check that off the list of things that I got to do today or do that day, and I move on. And I get an automated message from him, as you do with any Airbnb person, saying, hi, thank you for booking. And they give you more details about the unit, how to get into the unit, directions, the final address, all that stuff. If you've ever booked an Airbnb before, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I get that message, and then it occurs to me, I was like, Simone, you didn't even see if this place had any reviews. So I go to see if the listing has any reviews, and it doesn't. And that is really the second red flag, but that's the first red flag for me. this was the point that I had a feeling in the pit of my stomach that something was wrong, and I ignored it. And I ignored it because I just felt like he has a zero tolerance cancellation policy, and I was not going to be able to get my money back for it. And I can't afford to just cancel it and then book something else. Like, that just wasn't something that I could afford. So I kept with it, and it was concerning to me. And this was when the joke of sex trafficking started to come up. And at the time, it was funny. I would joke and I would say, like, oh, this guy's gonna sell me into sex trafficking, right? It was funny at that point. So that was when I was okay with joking about it. Now, another 24 hours passes. I'm due to leave in about 3 days, I think, at this point. And I still can't shake this feeling that something is wrong and that I'm concerned. So I got onto Amazon at like 2 o'clock in the morning and fell down a freaking rabbit hole. And I purchased 3 different security measures to put on the door. If you watched the vlog, then you saw that. I purchased 3 different things in order to put on the door that are meant for travel, to stop somebody from being able to get into the room that you are in from the outside, no matter if they have a key, whatever the case may be. I don't think that it could survive against like 100 people ramming up against it, or even just like a really well-built man, but at least you have the element of surprise is gone, and that's really what I was looking for. So I bought these items and it made me feel a lot better. So it is Saturday and I leave town on Sunday, right? Saturday before I go to work, I work a 12-hour shift. He messages me and he says, hey Simone, so unfortunately the unit that you are supposed to be staying in has a really bad leak and it makes the apartment uninhabitable, basically. And he asked me if I would be okay with moving to another unit of his that's right down the hallway, identical, just different layout. And that red flag number 3. So like immediately, pit in my stomach again, that exact same feeling over again. I was like, what is the problem? Like, that doesn't sound right. And you are just now telling me this leak just suddenly pops up the day before I'm supposed to be there. Okay. I flipped the fuck out. I'm not gonna lie. I tried to keep my emotions kind of down for the sake of my mom. She's a big worrier. So I called my sister and asked her if I should be worried. And she said, absolutely yes, you should be worried. So she told me to contact Airbnb, have them cancel it, and basically tell on him and say, like, this is pretty sketchy in my opinion. So I called Airbnb, and when you have issues like this, you get what's called a case manager. My first case manager was trash.com. Completely do not recommend her. I told her about my concerns about the fact that this man is asking me to move units, and I forgot to mention that I asked him if the new unit was registered with Airbnb, and he told me no. So to put this into context, to put this into perspective, he has now told me that he wants to move me into a unit that is not registered with Airbnb, that supposedly is down the hallway from the last unit, and there's no way of anybody knowing exactly where I am at, because where I will be staying is not what I technically pay for on Airbnb. So I explained this to my case manager, and she's like, but why? Well, what's the problem? She was like, he was willing to make accommodations for you. And I'm like, I don't care if he was willing to offer me the moon and stars. Like, it does not matter. This man is asking me to move somewhere that is outside of Airbnb. Like, don't you care about y'all's money and this being a fraud? So like I said, my first case manager, trash.com. So I ended up getting a different case manager, because after I got off of work, obviously that lady still was not there for the day. So I got a new case manager. Now this case manager was 10 times better. I explained to her what was happening. I told her that at this point I was out of work at about 10 or 11 p.m. I had to hop on a flight at 6 a.m. So at that point, I was leaving in like 7 hours and I didn't have anywhere to stay because I did not plan on staying there. She gave him until 6 a.m. to respond when my flight left. If he did not respond and meet the accommodations that I was asking for within that time period, she would force cancel the reservation. He ends up responding, and the caseworker and her basically work out that he is going to post a new listing for what the apartment that I'm staying in is going to look like. And that transfer is done inside of Airbnb. So I am moved out of one unit officially into another unit. So I found that, okay, now the difference between the first pictures and the next pictures were pretty apparent. It's not like I was in a different location. I could tell it was still the same apartment building. It just looked like he took stock photos for the first listing, and then he actually used real life pictures that he took for the second listing. So now let's fast forward into me actually getting to Atlanta and landing. On the app, it says that I couldn't check in until 3 p.m. and I landed at 8 a.m. I'm sorry, like 7:30 in the morning. So I had a lot of time to kill. So I was about to go to breakfast, and he actually messaged me on Airbnb and was like, hey, did you check in yet? And I was like, no, because check-in is until 3. I said, am I able to check in earlier? Because keep in mind, I am exhausted. In the past 24 hours, I had gotten about collectively an hour and a half to 2 hours of sleep. So exhausted wasn't even the word. I was actually falling asleep in my car waiting to go into the breakfast spot as he was messaging me. So when he told me I could check in early, I hopped on it, drove immediately over. The breakfast spot that I was at was only like 10 minutes away from the Airbnb. So I drove over, and I realized once my GPS got me there that I needed directions to get into the building, where to park, all that stuff. And they usually send that to you in that first confirmation message, right? So I message him and I go, hey, where should I park? No response. I just parked somewhere that I felt like was a space where a resident wouldn't be looking for it, or like fighting for it, so that I could make sure that my car would be safe and I wouldn't get towed. So I did that, and then I scrolled to the very, very, very top of our messages where he first sent me that initial confirmation, because I didn't have anything else. And at that time I wasn't putting together like, hey, since I moved units, I should have new confirmation instructions. But I was running off of 2 hours of sleep. I just wanted to get somewhere to be comfortable so that I could lay my head down and rest. So scroll to the top of the messages, and I follow his directions exactly, and they get me exactly into the building. If it said turn left, I did. When it said the floor, I did. And then he said that when you get to the door will be open, and the key to the apartment will be in the top left-hand drawer next to the refrigerator. Now I get there, every single thing works. I get into the apartment, the key is exactly where it says it's gonna be. But the gag is that the pictures of the new listing match the unit that I'm in, which shouldn't be a problem, except for the fact that I used the old directions in order to get into this Airbnb. Now this is future Simone thinking this, not Simone in the moment, because I was literally exhausted. It didn't make sense, but it wasn't concerning. It was just more so like, oh, I must be tripping because I'm so tired. But how is it possible that I have now switched units and I'm in a new unit, but all the directions that you gave me fit? There is no water leak in this apartment, and the pictures that you gave me for the new listing are the exact same design, couches, look, everything that the new listing is. But I changed apartments though, right? I was trying to lay down after I got done vlogging and showing you guys the apartment. I wanted to lay down and take a nap for a couple of hours before I went out to look for apartments. So I messaged him and I asked him, hey, what's the Wi-Fi password? Keep in mind, he hasn't responded to me in a minute. He hadn't responded to me about parking. He hadn't responded to me about Wi-Fi. So I just start looking around and I find the Wi-Fi router inside of the walk-in closet in the bedroom. So the router has all the information that I need. I plug that information into my computer, I connect to the Wi-Fi just fine, and I go to sleep. Now this seems inconsequential, but it's important because I woke up from my nap and he had messaged me and said, hey, so since this was such a last minute switch and that's a newer unit, there is no Wi-Fi in that unit. But the people will be out on Tuesday in order to install the Wi-Fi. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, that's kind of crazy because I am currently connected to the Wi-Fi and using it to communicate with you. So that's weird. So that's when I had gotten I had slept for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. So I had a little bit of sleep to me. So I messaged him and I said, hey, I don't think that I am in the correct unit. I think that I'm in the old unit. I was like, but I mean, I'm comfortable like being here essentially. Like there isn't any problems with the water, like nothing, none of that. And now that I read the message back, it kind of does sound like I'm kind of like making light of it and I'm not going to make a big deal about staying there. But he doesn't address the fact that I said that I was in the wrong apartment. He just said, how's everything going? Hours later. So I just said, good, you know, because I just really didn't want to admit that something was the problem because like I said, it started off as a joke, but sex trafficking became so real because Atlanta reputation for being one of the biggest sex trafficking cities in the United States. And it weighed so heavy on my mind that I could no longer make jokes about it anymore. It was no longer funny. So that's why I never said it out loud in the entire time that I was there. I didn't feel comfortable because I firmly believe that you receive the energy that you put out. And I didn't want to put that energy out there because I did not want to manifest something negative. So the nighttime comes around and I sleep regularly, all the lights out. The only thing that I have on is my laptop in my own home, right? I am trying to fall asleep and I order food. I'm laying down and I drift off to sleep, but then the person that was delivering my food called me, so I woke up. Then my mom called me, so I woke up to talk to her. Then my roommate called me and I saw her calling, but I just really wanted to hang on to my sleep, so I just said I would call her back. So then I drifted back off to sleep. My niece then called me and I ignored her call because I'm like, she doesn't want anything. Then I don't know how much time passes again, she calls me again. So at this point, I wake up, I answer her call because I'm like, are you dying? Literally, are you dying? And she had a very, very small question to ask me. And then she ended the conversation by saying, sorry, I didn't think that you would be asleep. Remember to put your phone on charge. Okay, bye. Which is kind of weird. Like, I guess she was just kind of looking out and she probably didn't mean anything by it. But then my mind started going and I was like, what the fuck does she mean? Remember to put my phone on charge? Like, because my phone wasn't on charge. So that kind of creeped me out that she said that out of all things, really random. So I got up to put my phone on charge and then from then on, I was up like a light. Like, I was up. And that's the point that I started calling my friends. I just needed some energy. I really wish that I had traveled with somebody. I just needed someone else's energy with me. Back to me being in bed. It's about 1 o'clock in the morning. And remember, I have not slept in however many hours. Like, I am running on about 4 hours of sleep. So I should be begging to get to sleep, right? But my conscience just won't let me rest, will not let me rest. I have every single one of those protective things on the door. I triple locked everything, triple checked under the crevices in the 2 inches underneath the couch, behind the couch, inside of the room, inside the closet, underneath pillows, literally everywhere that a person could be and there was no one there. Then my mind got to wandering again. And then I thought, if I can see this man, aka my Airbnb host, being a normal person in just life, I'll feel better. You know, if I can find him on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or something, a freaking LinkedIn, I will feel better, right? I tried to find information on this person, but unfortunately Airbnb doesn't give you last names. So I blacked out and I bought a background check on him, you know, whatever. So bought a background check on him. I figured out his full name, where he was born, where he currently lived, his current phone number, the places that he had lived in the past few years, the fact that his mother is now deceased, saw his his father's name, found his brothers, his cousins, and I'm pretty sure I may have found an ex-girlfriend. And I found also Facebook pages for these people that are closest to him, Instagrams for people that are close to him. And I could not find this man anywhere on social media at all, nowhere. And it was getting to a point where I had fallen down such a rabbit hole that I was delirious and so tired that I couldn't concern myself with the fact that I couldn't find him on social media anymore. So I went to sleep, and I went to sleep with the light on, which is really odd for me. I sleep with all the lights off. So I was literally petrified of the dark. I am a grown woman and I was petrified of the dark. And just because you're grown doesn't mean you shouldn't be scared of the dark, but just me as a person, I'm not scared of the dark. Like, that's never really been an issue for me. I woke up the next morning and I felt better, I felt more well rested, and I felt better about the fact that I had gotten through a night and it was daytime, and I just felt better in the apartment during the day. Fast forward to me being at the end of me getting ready. I'm looking around for paper towels, and so I'm opening all of these cabinets in the kitchen trying to find paper towels. I stumble across this receipt for rent paid, and I take a look at it. I confirmed that the apartment number was the apartment number that I was in. Whoever was paying for that apartment was not the same name as my Airbnb host. And the invoice went back a couple of months. Whoever was writing these checks was not the person that was renting this Airbnb out to me. So at that point I said, Simone, you cannot fall into a rabbit hole. You have places to go, you have apartments to see. You really got to take advantage of this day. You don't have time for this right now. So I mentally noted that, put the invoice or the receipt back up into the cabinet, and I then called my roommate. Now I'm on the phone with my roommate. I'm gathering up all my stuff. I packed super light on this trip, so I didn't have a purse with me. So I was carrying everything out in my hands. So it was a lot to carry. And so I'm on the phone with her and I'm taking all these security measures off the door. And I was kind of moving fast when I was doing it. And I wasn't being I was being careful about it, but I don't remember in my mind's eye paying special care to it, right? I take it off the door. I leave the Airbnb for the day. I am gone out of that apartment. I left out late for when I wanted to leave out. So I left out of the apartment around 10:30 in the morning. Now I get back to the Airbnb around 6:30. I have to pee so bad. I've been out for 8 hours. I am exhausted. I am hungry. I am tired. I'm excited to get back, right? Get into the garage, park, walking up to the Airbnb, walking up to the door. And I'm looking at the door handle and it's sagging a bit, right? So I'm like, well, that's kind of weird. I said in the back of my head, I wonder if I was always sagging like that. So I put the key, because there's no key to the actual handle. You know how some handles have a key and then there's a deadbolt. There was only a deadbolt on this one. So I put the key in the deadbolt and I'm turning it, door won't open. Just won't open.